Marcus Ryle, welcome to Australian Musician.
Thank you.
A lot of the real innovators of music technology that I have met and read about all have this thing where they pulled things apart when they were younger. I believe you're no different.
I'm guilty as charged. Yeah, it can be a great motivator when you're a kid and you've taken something apart that's precious to you and then it doesn't work anymore. You find yourself very motivated to figure out how it works so you can put it back together. So I started with had an ARP Odyssey synthesizer. Was my first synthesizer that I bought when I was 12 or 13 years old and started tinkering with.
Yeah. I believe you were attracted to the drums at 6 years old, and then you got onto playing keyboards, and now you are developing products for guitar.
Yes.
Does that overall knowledge of instruments help you in the creation of Line 6 products?
I think for me, the general interest in music and audio and trying to be a well-rounded musician has helped me. Admittedly, I'm hopeless on guitar. I think many keyboard players are really frustrated guitar players. But I did attempt to start with drums when I was very young, and it was a little too much, I think, for my mom to take, so she convinced me to switch to piano. I played bass, I played various wind instruments through school, and wanted to get familiar with most instruments and orchestration and things like that, just because how all of it contributes just to the sonic landscape that we get to play in.
Yeah. You worked at Oberheim developing synths and electronic drum gear. In those days, how closely were you watching other companies and what they were doing, or were you just busy doing what you do?
And I started at Oberheim in 1980, and I was just passionate about synthesizers, about audio and technology. And it was a really lucky environment for me to be in because we were given a lot of free rein to just do what we wanted to do. So a lot of the products just ended up being the dream products we wanted to make. So we were aware of what was going on competitively, but it was also a very friendly, competitive environment. We were friends with Dave Smith of Sequential. I would say, though, that Roger Lynn was certainly an influence because when he came out with the LM1, that was definitely part of the inspiration for doing the Oberheim DMX. So we'd pay attention, but also we're kind of following our own path.
Yeah. What's been your philosophy on developing prototypes over the years? How closely have you worked with working musicians?
I think it's essential to work with the people who will actually be using the products. I think in the early days for me, it was simple because I just imagined myself as the customer, and a lot of the engineers that I've worked with, we were all musicians and passionate about the product. So you pretty much were doing what you wanted. But as time evolves, you find that can really be limiting, and it's been fantastic to spend a lot of time with a lot of different types of musicians to be able to really understand better what are the problems they're trying to solve. How could their world be improved in ways they may not even imagine, but by really observing closely where things are frustrating, those really are where the germs of ideas come from. And in the earlier days, I was less conscious of it, but I was a working musician playing gigs every weekend. I was a session musician in studios in LA all the time, so I was constantly surrounded by other musicians, performing myself as well, and it was almost just osmosis to be automatically learning of what was challenging and where innovation could really solve problems.
Yeah. When you started Line 6 in the mid-90s and began working with digital guitar products, how much flack did you cop from the traditional tube amp guys?
It's funny because 1996, just saying digital and guitar in the same sentence, we used to joke about, was just crazy, right? That's the last thing a guitar player wanted to hear about was digital, because we weren't the very first to do anything digital, but pretty much anything associated with digital at that time and guitar was considered sterile and really poor sound quality. So there's no doubt we got a lot of flack. But you know, what we really tried to stick to is that the technology happens to be digital, but that wasn't the reason for us to do what we did. We really wanted to make products that could be inspiring, that could give musicians new capabilities. Digital just happened to be the way that could solve those problems best. So we were never trying to be pro digital or say, you know, digital good, tubes bad. No, actually, there's classic gear that sounds amazing. We wouldn't spend so much time trying to recreate those sounds if they weren't fantastic. We're kind of technology agnostic, which might seem strange for a technology company. Technology has to serve a purpose. So over time, I think guitar players started to recognize that where's this stuff solving a problem, and you're able to start ignoring, well, is it digital? Is it tubes? Is it solid state? It should really just be, does it sound great? And does it help me make music? So we've managed to get over it, I think.
Yeah. Tell me about the pod. What was the inspiration behind that?
The pod, I have to say honestly, a lot of the success of the pod we didn't really anticipate. For us, it was kind of just the next natural step, recognizing that although the first modeling product we did, the Access 212, was a guitar amp, we were trying to kind of make the complete solution. We really saw that recording guitar was a real problem for a lot of people. Not only did you need additional gear and expertise, but for many people, just having an environment where you could turn your amp up loud enough to get it sound proper to mic it and record it and have a good sounding room and the right mics was just not practical. So it was a real struggle for people to record guitar. And that just, it seemed like the natural next step for us. But, you know, we had the good fortune that, which I certainly can't take credit for, we had some folks in the company that said, this is special and it needs to look special in order to get recognized. My original drawing for the pod, which I still have, was, as you'd expect someone with my background to do. I just figured it's just going to be a single rack space device. You know, here's the same controls that ended up on a pod, but it's just going to be in a rack. And fortunately, someone on our team just said, you know, it's just going to get lost. It's going to be another rack guitar processor, but this really is special, and we need people to notice it in order to listen to it and see what it can do. And it kind of evolved from there into something that actually consciously ended up this interestingly curved shape, because that was a way to convey the organic nature of its sound, that it was really trying to be a complete sound solution. And fortunately, it did get noticed. I think also, fortunately, it just connected with so many guitar players as solving a very real problem. It wasn't competing with their rig. If they had their favorite guitar amp and favorite effects and so on that they used live and so on, Pod didn't have to threaten that. Pod solved a different problem. It's that they struggled to be able to capture that sound. I think from there, what was fantastic is people realized that it's not just making recording easier. If you have a wide range of sounds immediately available to you, it can actually inspire you. In the way that keyboard players got used to, I could just push a button and get a new sound and see where it takes me musically. Now guitar players for the first time realize, well, this could be useful for me too. I suddenly might get inspired by a sound and come up with a new riff and write a song and so on. And I think that really helped usher in the world of modeling.